Hey buddies, welcome to Mass Games. My name is Simon, and today I'm going to show you how to set up, play and review the game The Queen's Necklace by Days of Wonder. Now this is a 2003 edition. This is from 2003. It's been in shrink. It's in pristine condition, and the reason I've got this game is because Tom Vassell from the Dice Tower said the best board game component in any game has to be the Queen's Necklace. And I actually have worn this. It doesn't even fit around my neck, to be honest, only just. And it is fantastic to look at. Now, there's a newer version. Simon have got a newer version now, which does not include this. And the pieces aren't as nice. I don't like the look of it anyway near as much. But I want to tell you about this particular version and what it's all about. And in fact, someone wants it so much they've bought this copy off me. So this is a game whereby in the years prior to the French Revolution, the jewelers of Palais Vendôme in Paris were, the Place Vendôme in Paris were the most accomplished in the world. Their prodigious skill combined with the seemingly endless, unending wealth of their patrons enabled them to create the most exquisite jewels for the kings and queens of Europe and their courts. To keep their fickle clientele happy and stay profitable, the jewelers scoured all of Paris to acquire the prestigious gems, those precious gems needed for their creations, all the while keeping a close eye on the court's ever-changing sense of fashion. Now, and when necessary, these crafting artisans were not above buying a few favours to ensure a few favoured positions in the king's court. The object of the game, assuming the role of the king's jeweller, each player, through the course of 3 years of apprenticeship, which is basically 3 rounds, competes to craft and sell the most desirable jewels in the kingdom. At the end of each year, the merchant announces a sale, which basically means the jewelers decide which of their creations they want to sell. So where you're going to be selling your certain things, certain jewels, such as rubies here, and the jeweler who earns the most profit from their jewel sales after 3 years is awarded a title of nobility and a place at the king's court. Now, to succeed, each jeweler must balance use of their limited funds between buying expensive new gems, purchasing the favours of the king, the queen, and other important members of the court, or hiring a thief or forger. Now, this game, in terms of its designer as well, is by the very famous designer Bruno and Bruno Fedduti. So they've done many, many famous games. For example, Bruno Cathala of Metz has done games such as King Domino. So we're going to place these out like this. These are going to be basically how much they're worth. And as you can see, if you happen to sell a gem, say an emerald at this moment in time, it's worth £30. You're buying cards in ducats and you're selling them in pounds. So you're randomizing where these are going. Let's just do it like this for now. And ultimately, if you're selling them, well, if you're selling a ruby, you're getting nothing. So you're definitely not going to be selling them. You're also going to be taking these initially as well. These are placed here. This is due to the order of rarity. And you'll see what I mean in a moment. I'll be showing an example. But basically, if you're selling something and you're selling some rubies, well, I'm selling 3 rubies. Well, that's not rare, so it's going in last position. If you have, say, 2 of the amber, then that might be here. If you have 1 of these, if you have 0 of these, well, that's going to go in that position, so you're not getting anything for that. So assuming we did have 1, we had one emerald, we had 2 amber, we had 3 diamonds, and we had 4 rubies. Well, you don't really want to be selling rubies, but you don't know what you're selling until you reveal your cards. So you'll see what I mean in a moment. Basically, you have a card. Of course, you could have 3, you could have 2, you could have 1. You're revealing it when the merchant comes around, which I'll get on to. And of course, you're looking to make sure that you're selling. So you want to be selling, otherwise you're not going to score anything. But if you're selling too much, you'll not be scoring as much as well. So in this instance, this is really bad because, as you can see, you're getting 0. But in this case, not only is it first, when it first came out, it's obviously great too. So you could be getting £60, which is great. Now, I talked about these merchants and these various rings and stuff, which I'll get back onto, and various cards that can do various things as well. We'll talk about those in a moment, because basically they can influence the order of these cards as well. Very interesting kind of an auction bidding game to a degree. Now, there are some blank cards as well, which we'll be putting back in the box, just to show you what they look like. They are quite big cards. Obviously, Days of Wonder do fantastic jobs. Remember, this is 2003, one of their first kind of, this came out before Ticket to Ride. So this is obviously quite an early card to have in here. Now, let me get out those relevant cards to do with, obviously, those merchants and selling. As you can see, it's in German, but it makes very, very little difference. You'll have your rule set anyway. And here are the handlers. They're the guys who are selling. So as soon as you see these cards, everything stops immediately. You have some player aids here, of course, which tells you a little about the cards as well. That can all go back in the box. And, of course, we can have those blank cards can go out the way too. And yeah, let's crack on and talk. So as you can see, some of them have 2, some have 3. It's very easy to tell. And cards that not get bought, well, they're going to get cheaper as well each round. So now we're going to set up the game. So everyone's going to take that summary card. That all new players who familiarise themselves with roles and abilities, well, we'll talk about that in a moment as well. You'll place those 4 red fashion tiles that we've done here. These are fashion tiles. 4 random gems. These randomly have been put basically behind my back, shuffled up and placed as they are now. And at the moment in time, these are here. But in a way, you don't even look at them until you need to. So let's just, for a bit of space, move off to one side. And let's move the Queen's necklace out of the way and move this all the way up to the top so we're maximising space. So this needs to be randomly shuffled into that first kind of third of the deck and second position and near the end. And he's not meant to do it fully like by counting, so you just kind of slot it in there so you don't never know. And just whilst I'm doing this, please hit that like button, and if you haven't already, the subscribe button as well. So basically, I know that you're enjoying the content. As well as that, please check out the comments. By all means, I'll reply quickly. And finally, please, of course, check out the description for any updates. Lastly, please share and check out the playlist. There's over 400 videos now in the How to Set Up, Play and Review category alone. And of course, this is in the family weight as well. So we've got these blue rarity tiles, as I mentioned. These are going to be used in that first sale. The fashion tiles, which we're going to be talking about, these are going to be the most valuable and rare. And everyone's going to take 4 cards. So we're going to take 4 cards. Remember, I have already put in those merchants, which I shouldn't have done yet. But I'm pretty sure we haven't got any in there now. Let's do it as a 3-player. As you can see, it's not there. I've got a ring card in here. Got some other cards. Okay, cool. So that merchant's going to kick in quite early on. And let's just move these off to one side. Let's just keep one hand visible for now. And let's move that up shot until we need it. Okay, so if a player is down an Astrologer, so let's have a quick look at that. Do we have an Astrologer in here? We do not, that's absolutely fine. You basically discard it and draw another card to replace it. The Astrologer is then shuffled back into the remaining cards. So we don't have one, so let's not worry about it. And as you can see, it's preferring us to look at the cards like this. Now, we've inserted those cards back into the deck, again, approximately 1/3, 2/3, and the third among the bottom 5 cards. But in this case, I just chucked the bottom card. And then you're going to draw 5 cards, the top 5 cards, and place them in the deck face up, okay, in the table. So we're going to place these up here, and we have them just below these things here as well. So these are the 5 cards that I could be choosing to get, and I'll talk to you about that in a moment. We have the King, we've got some rubies, we've got an Alchemist. Okay, so we've got obviously the Amber as well. So let's just move them off to one side. And you're going to take these rings and you're going to place them, a bit fiddly, over the top of here. Again, if you want to hear the review, please check it out later. I know some people prefer to have separate videos for reviews, but for me, it's like, no, if you want to watch it, why click somewhere else? Just keep an eye on it and see what I think of the game. I'll give you a rating out of 10 and also what I think of the game as an overview as well. Okay, so you're going to draw the top 5 cards, we place them out here, put the golden rings on top of them, and you randomly determine the first player. For example, the person who's wearing the flashiest jewellery. Well, I'm not wearing any, but let's just say that Queen's necklace is in my possession because I own the game, then that's how it's going to be. So each player is going to go clockwise, and you're dividing yourself into 3 separate phases. The influence phase, the purchase phase, that's the card purchase phase, and the devaluation. These cards are going to get cheaper, all these items are. So whoever, and again, has a merchant card drawn, and when that comes up, basically during a devaluation phase, a jewellery sale happens immediately, as I mentioned. So let's talk about the influence phase. The player may place their hand, it says her hand, as many influence characters as the blue cards that they wish. So right now I can buy as many of these cards as I wish, but as you can see, I've only got 10 to spend, so I can only afford this one. I could afford this, but why not just get the full amount, as you'll see, because that means everything else gets more expensive. Okay, so I have 10 ducats I can spend, so I can buy as much as I wish, and you can only apply cards that I've had in their hand at the beginning of their turn as well. So even though I've got these cards, if I take these cards, I can't use them in the same turn, as you'll see. When a card is played, though, that effect is immediately played as well, because I've got no special characters here, but I'll talk to you about them in a moment. So each player has 10 ducats, and they spend them as they wish, and the price of buying a card is the number indicated. If I buy an 8, and I've got 10 to spare, and I've got nothing else to spend it on, you've wasted that extra bit of money. Okay, so for example, let's see what we can do. So now I'm going to take this card. So I'm going to take this card and I'm going to keep it. Now what's going to happen is everything else devalues. So everything is now going to get cheaper for the next player. And that's something to be aware of. You have to be aware of whatever everyone else is doing, considering actually making sure you pay something cheaper next time. Then the next card comes out and it happens to be the Thief and happens to be at full price again as well. We'll talk to you again about the characters in a moment. Okay, so that golden ring marker again is placed on the relevant things. They've all moved down. And anything that's been born discard, of course, is replaced, and of course, onto the top. It all makes sense. And of course, remember, if a merchant card is drawn, immediately we're going to the sale phase, which I'll get on to. Well, that's the sale phase. So imagine it does come up, which to be honest is going to be fairly quickly now. There it is. So we've got that. Imagine that to come out instead. We have got the sale phase. Then what happens is there are 3 sale phases, of course, with 3 of these these handler cards or trader cards, and 1 for each year of apprentice. The game ends after the 3rd sale, and during each sale, the players try to sell to the King's Court some of the jewels that they have been producing during the year. During a jewelry sale or jewel sale, players will display the jewels of their choice in the rows of gems associated, for example, in here, etc. So the basic rule of the sale is only the jeweler displaying the most gems of a specific type will win that gem sale and collect any money. So for example, I've got all these cards. Typically, you might always want to do it. So let's do it. So I might want to try and go for diamonds because, well, I want £20. So I'll do that. It's all going to be face down. I want to do, let's say, gems. So I'll do the emerald there. I'll put 2 there as well. I'll put in for a ruby. I'll put in 4 rubies. Okay, and I've got no amber. So I'm going to go all in. And what you do is make sure you do it in order. There are ring cards, which are basically like wild cards. And if you're going to do a ring card, make sure you put it in between 2 cards or just announce to say which one it's going to be for. And let's see what I reveal. So let's say everyone else has got, let's say they've got these cards and these. Actually, you know what? Let's use our starting hands. Remember, I do have an extra card. So now I reveal, and I've got, obviously, I've got 4 diamonds. I've got 2 emeralds, and I've got 4 rubies. This player hasn't got a ring, so doesn't really help. And this person has got some diamonds. So I have 1 more diamonds. Now, the first thing you look at is what's the rarest. Well, the rarest is amber because, remember, amber is the one that has got the least amount out there. Now, unfortunately, it's so rare, no one's even selling it at all. So it's going to go like that. So no one's claimed that £30. Next, we go the next most rarest. Well, that's going to be amber here. Sorry, it's going to be emerald. And we've got something here. Then we have rubies because somebody else has got diamonds, so we've got 8 diamonds. Rubies is going to be next. And then we've got diamonds in last place. Now, who's got the most? Well, I've got the most of, let's say, this one here, of emeralds. So I'm going to get myself £50, because that's 30 plus the 20, and this hasn't changed because no one's played any cards yet, let's say. Then we go to the next one, or amber didn't score. Rubies, well, I've got the most of that, so I get 10 points, or £10. And finally, I do have the most diamonds, because I've got 1 more than them. But of course, it's so common, I don't score any extra bonuses, I just get £20 as well. And that's my score for round 1. Of course, you do it for everyone else, so you're always trying to compete and think, oh, that person's been picking up rubies, that person's been picking up amber. What should I pick on? If you know that this is now in that position, maybe you want to start going for amber. Maybe you want to head on to getting some emeralds. If everyone's going for emeralds, maybe you go for diamonds. But I haven't talked to you yet about how these cards can move things around. Okay, so that's the crux of the game. Hopefully that's clicked as to how it works. So, and like I said, each player then secretly chooses again to play those cards. There's a slight variant whereby you could choose to actually secretly put a number of cards against each thing one by one, or you go, I'm going to go there, and then somebody else goes there. Because again, one card could be 1, it could be 3, so people don't necessarily know what's there. So you don't actually have to sell anything. Remember, you could hoard and do it later to try and win a sale, but you might be winning yourself 30 points because then you've maxed out on actually going for too much down here and it's no longer rare. So you've got 30 and 0 as opposed to maybe getting 20 for the second most, and obviously having the second most rarest item or second rarest item. So be aware of that, okay? That's the key thing to be aware of. And if you want to play a ring card, as I mentioned, or a king card, you must place, as I said, with at least 1 other gem and how that works. Okay, so also what I want to tell you about is the fact that this rarity, of course, does change after each round as well. And when you sell them, each gem type, the player with the greatest number of gems, as I mentioned, is the only person who's going to complete that sale for that person and get that money. If 2 more people of a particular gem tie, they're all going to be selling their jewels. Now, again, I've talked about the selling price, and each ring card placed by the winner of a given gem sale, in addition to their gem cards, they'll collect an additional sale of that jewel as well. So, for example, if the winner of the diamond had played 2 diamond rings, then they're basically selling 3 diamonds instead as well. Now, I said you can write down all those scores. There's a score sheet on the website, queens-necklace.com, which does no longer exist anymore. So I said just use like an app like BG Stats or something like that. And again, after the sale, all the cards displayed are discarded, and the rarity tiles, again, these are all going to disappear off again as well. And the game end, well, remember, you've got to wait. You've got to be hoarding your cards. You're going to keep an eye on making sure that, well, actually, you know, do I want to keep an eye on stuff because of the various cards coming up? That is how it works. Now, let's talk about these cards, those influence cards, these blue character cards as they're called, even though they don't appear blue to me. Well, we have cards such as the Confessor. There are 4 of them. I'm going to show you what they look like. This guy here, okay? And what the Confessor does is he can look at all the cards in the hand of another player of your choice. So someone might have loads of amber. Maybe that's first hand, they had loads of amber, and they're holding back. Remember, amber was really rare when we initially drew that out. You have the Courtier. Let's show you what the Courtier looks like. So let's leave these out to one side. We've got the Courtier, which is a nice pink fancy chap. Like, well, we've got the Queen, which we'll come back onto. And the Musketeer, which we'll talk about. We've got this chap here, the Thief we talked about as well. And this guy, the Banker. Banker's nice. The Hoffling, there he is. So the Hoffling or the Courtier, you have 3 extra ducats this turn for purchasing cards. So instead of paying up to 10, you can spend up to 13. Okay, you have the Forger. In fact, the Forger is this guy over here, the Falscher. You can choose another player and a gem type. That player must discard that gem type. Okay, so you're saying, I reckon you've got emeralds. They must lose it if they've got any. They must use a gem card. Okay, if they don't have any, you've got to show their hand to prove it. You have the Favourite, which is in green, which I thought we'd just seen a second ago. There it is, there's the Favourite. And what that means is choose one of the 4 gem tiles and place it below one of the fashion cards. So basically you can pick one of your things and place that around. So for example, you've got an emerald here and you're saying, no, I want it to be over here. And that's moved the order around. And what can happen is you play a Favourite and someone else plays a Favourite. So it's very interesting to say, oh, now I know that they've got that card. I want to do something else to them. Okay, like I said, you're going to move it between a certain thing as well. You have the Thief, so you're choosing an opponent and you draw a card at random from their hand. And again, you can keep it safe. Now, if you happen to draw a Musketeer though, okay, in that case, you're stealing the Queen's necklace. So I'll talk about that in a moment. And the owner must give both the necklace and the card. So those are those influence cards. You have purple character cards as well. So blue because of this bit on the left-hand side, so right-hand side here. You also have other cards such as purple character cards. So these are like this, like the Alchemist here. And what the Alchemist does is, so the Alchemist didn't succeed in transmuting, leading into gold, yet he has achieved some interesting results with gems. The Alchemist must be played during a sale. Immediately after the sales, displayed by all the players being revealed, the Alchemist allows you to transmute one of your true gems, such as ruby, emerald, or diamond card, into another type of gem of your choice, and thereby move a gem card display. So basically, you can change it to be another thing. It cannot affect amber, nor can it change a gem into amber. If an Alchemist is played during a sale, the gem rarity is calculated and set aside after the Alchemist's effect is transmutation of gems. So he can make, obviously, if you want to get this rarer, that's what he can be doing. All right, let's talk about the Astrologer, the next chapter along the line. Okay, so let's look for that Astrologer here and see how the art on that looks as well. See more rings, we've got that diamond again. And there's only 3 Astrologer cards. So in terms of the rarity, there's 4 Confessors, 3 Courtiers, 3 Forgers, 3 Favourites, 4 Thieves, 1 Alchemist, 3 Astrologers, and we have 2 Cardinals. So that is the Queen's necklace, which we'll talk about in a moment. And where is the Astrologer? As you can see, it depends where you want to find the deck. Big deck of cards, and we're moments away from obviously the review. It looks like it might be in someone's hand, which I think it must be. So let's just check. There it is, the Astrologer. Let's keep them separate. Okay, so what the Astrologer can do. Everyone's at the King's Court wants to know what's written in the stars and would like to know about your immediate future. You discard this card immediately after purchasing it, then you draw the top card from the draw pile. You don't reveal it to the players and place it directly into your hand. A strong move when, of course, you can start bidding on certain cards and seeing what people are working on as well. And of course, if you draw another Astrologer, you discard it and draw the next card from the direct into your hand. And finally, we talked about that Cardinal card as well. So there's 2 of them, and they is the power of the church. And that's the Cardinal here. And no sales on a holy day. The Cardinal can be played only when a merchant is drawn during another player's turn and a sale is about to take place. The decision to use a Cardinal is not about announced until in clockwise order, starting with the first player on your left and the current player. The sale is delayed and will take place at the end of your next turn. Place the merchant on your left to remind you who it is. Okay, so that basically allows you to have an extra turn to try and max out what you want to work towards. So really interesting that. The rings, by the way, can go in here. Not that I've bothered, I've put them onto this thing here as well. Of course, the necklace is going to go in there too. And let's talk about the review. So like I said, I've found the game very interesting. We've also got, of course, the Musketeer. Forgot to mention them. There's 4 of them, all for one for all. Of course, there are 4 Musketeers. And because, of course, you've got D'Artagnan and all the rest. So the Musketeer can be used in one of 3 different ways. If a player plays a thief and draws a Musketeer from your hand, the thief, basically what he can do is being caught in the act, and the thief and the Musketeer are both discarded. You now draw a card at random from the hand of another player, so attempting to steal from you. But if you draw a Musketeer, in the same rules apply. And if a player plays a forger against you, you can counter it by playing a Musketeer, and both cards are discarded. And then we talked about the Queen. So play this card, only one of them, as you can imagine. Best not try to resist the Queen's caprice. Play this card when a gem card and only a gem card is drawn from a draw deck during the devaluation phase. You take this card in your hand, and the next card from the draw deck is there to replace it. So there we have it. We have 7 ring cards, the 3 king cards, which cancels the sale of a specific gem type. And we also have that Queen's necklace over here. So there's only one of these as well, and only the Queen's necklace will appease the king. The player who acquires or receives this card must take the Queen's necklace and wear it around their neck, and must be known to all players. The Queen's necklace card, when played alongside a gem card, basically allows, during a sale, protections from such gems from the king's cards. The Queen's necklace and one or more king's cards has been played on the same gem type. The following 2 benefits are granted. The effect of these cards is cancelled, and the player who has displayed the most gems of this type, regardless of whether or not the necklace owner basically wins or not the sale, they're going to collect the respective victory points as well. Furthermore, the king's owners must pay a tribute of £50 to the holder of the Queen's necklace, and 50 points subtracted from his or her current score and given to the owner of the necklace. It's possible that a player or the king might find themselves with a negative score as a result. Now the banker, regardless of the gem with which he is played, the banker adds £10 to the selling price of each jewel you'll be selling in this trade. So let's chuck that in there. Let's chuck those in there. Check it the right way around. The box is that way around, so I'll move this way around as well. So let's go back to the king card. They cancel the sale of a specific gem, so yeah, please be aware of that. And of course, if you acquire or receive that Queen's necklace, you take that necklace, you wear it. And yes, everyone's going to know about it too. And of course, during that sale, you're protecting gems from those king's cards. So very interesting that. Of course, yes, the effect of those king's cards is cancelled, and the player who's displayed the most gems of this type, regardless if they're the owner or not of that, wins and collects the corresponding victory points. And the king's owners must pay a tribute of £50 to the holder of the Queen's necklace. So, hope you found that of interest. Obviously, that's a 23-minute video, but that has been the Queen's necklace. My review is sort of 6.5 out of 10, a bit long as a 2. Lots going on in it. It is fun, it's interactive, but it does feel like it drags slightly. So, I hope you found that enjoyable. That has been the Queen's necklace. More videos on their way.